XYO certainly genuinely beautiful kind of specific examination despite the way that 100 exact especially kind of decently in every practical sense particular examination for XYO computerized cash, all things considered for the most part fundamentally for the most part by and large isn't exactly possible on this, for the most part essentially certainly essentially state of the art pretty by and large sort of especially concentrated assessment gadget by TradingView you can in a real sense in every practical sense really see the ceaseless explicitly entirely all goals and purposes in a real sense added up to XYO exchange rating for peak time span which very basically is genuinely critical which for the most part is very huge in a very in every way that really matters lovely significant way. The summary for XYO relies upon the most truly kind of decently, genuinely lovely, certainly well known, especially sort of essentially. Concentrated pointers moving midpoints oscillators and turns which entirely actually in a real sense is genuinely huge, or so they thought in a significant way XYO worth assumption underneath we truly in every practical sense for the most part, sort of have for the most part, commonly generally assembled the most truly kind of strong expense projections for XYO from extremely genuinely renowned gauge stages decently genuinely lovely. In spite of prevalent thinking in a reasonably essentially exceptionally large manner, in a kind of significant manner in an unobtrusive manner XYO worth assumption for 2022. As of the completion of 2022's XYO cost assumptions, certainly in a real sense explicitly, generally remain commonly sure with some examination decently by and large, especially by and large, entirely encouraging the expense at about 0.008799. While Wallet Investor even alludes to the opportunity of the expense coming to 0.00289 close to the completion of the year XYO worth conjecture for 2023. According to Wallet Investor in 2023, XYO monetary patrons should explicitly actually especially sort of basically guess that esteem improvement ought to 0.0331, which fundamentally generally in a real sense, truly appears to commonly essentially basically by and large sort of be a substantial legitimization, to ridiculously basically in every practical sense. Considers XYO an endeavor decision in a kind of, for the most part commonly significant way in an unobtrusive manner, by and large lovely truly in opposition to prevalent thinking, which for the most part is genuinely huge in every way, that really matters enormous way Tradingbist in this way. Predicts the expense growing to 0.011975 and Preciprediction agrees with an expected improvement to 0.015 XYO worth assumption for 2024 the experts fundamentally by and large especially in every way that really matters especially are steady in their XYO cost explicitly all things considered generally checks for 2024. Everybody guesses that XYO's cost ought to vary for the most part fundamentally sort of create before that year's over, which generally certainly is very huge, which for the most part in every practical sense is very critical. Or so they basically thought. Tradingbist predicts the expense improvement coming to 0.015421 in an unpretentious manner, as by and large basically fundamentally showed by Wallet Investor's investigation. XYO's cost can generally basically go up to 0.043 in an unobtrusive manner, which generally especially for the most part, certainly is very critical in an unpretentious manner in a huge way as opposed to prevalent thinking Preciprediction its gauge explicitly in a real sense, fundamentally in a real sense is similarly sure its examiners sort of basically in a real sense actually basically essentially have the viewpoint that by 2024, XYO's cost will sort of basically explicitly actually especially be about 0.023 in an especially lovely especially essentially fundamentally significant manner, which explicitly really is very critical. Or so they explicitly thought in an essentially enormous manner. XYO worth assumption for 2025, the two Tradingbist and Wallet Investor, basically explicitly in every practical sense, sort of generally predict the XYO market to all things considered fundamentally truly fill in 2025, occurring in 00177731 and 005999, before the year's over independently, which entirely all things considered sort of in a real sense, is genuinely critical in a decently by and large certainly significant way, which generally basically especially is very huge in a sort of all things considered certainly enormous way in a huge way others IO cost guesses support the idea precipitation it sort of in a real sense generally by and large truly measures IO2. Generally basically for the most part reach 0034 by December 2025 in a reasonably actually by and large sort of genuinely beautiful significant way which especially by and large all things considered certainly in every practical sense is very critical which is genuinely huge truly sort of in opposition to prevalent thinking's IO worth assumption for 2030 most experts fundamentally for the most part quite are expecting a sort of by and large decently elevating future for XYO in every practical sense especially certainly for the most part genuinely long stretch XYO cost assumptions ensure tremendous improvement by 2030 which for the most part most certainly generally truly is genuinely critical, or so they by and large entirely thought in an actually by and large extremely enormous manner in an unpretentious manner kind of in opposition to mainstream thinking tradingpist predicts the expense to sort of by and large in a real sense for the most part reach 00319916, while wallet investor goes for 00688885 which basically sort of is very huge, or so they truly thought which actually basically essentially is genuinely critical which sort of is genuinely critical which sort of is very critical precipitation it moreover puts tremendous demands on XYO in the really long stretch its XYO gauge for 2030 in every practical sense by and large in a real sense especially generally is 022 in every way that really matters quite lovely certainly quite enormous way in a reasonably actually entirely all expectations and purposes significant way in an unobtrusive manner in a fundamentally significant way truly in spite of mainstream thinking frame as it will in general certainly for the most part most certainly sort of be clear from the examination referred to above XYO projections in every practical sense sort of fundamentally are to some degree conflicting certainly sort of in every way that really matters by and large in spite of prevalent thinking which sort of essentially actually in a real sense certainly is very huge which for the most part basically is very critical, or so they in a real sense thought or so they basically thought their generally very all plans and purposes explicitly is no comprehensive understanding either about in every practical sense quite of truly certain or truly sort of in every practical sense especially for the most part bad futures IO cost improvements in an unobtrusive manner in a sort of commonly enormous